So I'm going to have Benny, our head of customer success at Bushel, to introduce probably the most, at least interesting and maybe exciting panel to see how everybody's feeling. So here we go, Benny.
Hey, thank you. Come on in, guys. You can sit there. I'm going to sit there, yeah. Come on in, guys. All right, I promise you'll get beer after this. We're getting there. If anybody was here last year, I don't know if you remember, but about 3:30 the power went out at our conference, and we didn't know what to do, and we all scrambled a little bit, and we had this plan to do beer 30 at 4:30 anyways, and so we were like, shit, bring the beer out now, we'll drink beer until the power turns back on. And we did, and it was awesome. So, sorry, that has nothing to do with this panel, but we'll...
So beer is not coming now?
What's that?
No beer now?
There is going to be beer, yeah, I promise. So I'm excited. We've got a good group of customers here, and this is what we would call our commercial grain customers. So our business customers that use Bushel products in their operations. And we're really focused on the messy middle in our spot. I don't know if someone can move the slides to the presentation header for this section. That'd be great, if that's possible. But we're focused on the messy middle of technology and kind of how we're adopting technology within the grain organizations and some of the challenges there. So we've got some questions all about starting to adopt technology, improving technology, and all of that. And I'm excited to chat with these folks here and have hopefully a really good conversation. So to start, since Mike has so many jobs at his real job, we made him do 2 panels with us. So I'm going to have Mike reintroduce himself really quick.
Yeah, Mike Hainline, Agri-Services of Brunswick in Brunswick, Missouri.
Thanks, Mike. Jack, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jack Vincent. I joined Schooler a year and a half ago on our producer strategy team. My job is largely our technology, our customer-facing technology, along with some origination training. My background is largely in trading grain and risk management. For those that aren't familiar with Schooler, we have about 60 grain elevators throughout the Midwest, largely in Kansas and Nebraska, along with a pretty sizable cross-country group and some interesting businesses like PetSource that makes freeze-dried dog food.
Thanks, Jack. And Corey?
So I'm Corey Winstead. I'm the CEO of FS Grain. We're based in Illinois. Our corporate office is in Morris. We've got 20 locations in the northern third of the state. We handle about 90 million bushels of corn and soybeans. Just like Tom said earlier, we're about 70% corn, 30% beans because we have to take them. But that's my only joke today, I promise. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I do.
Thanks, Corey. Allie?
I'm Allie Hagberg. I'm the commodity controller for Big River Resources. I've been involved in the ethanol industry since graduating college, so 8 years now. Big River has 4 ethanol plants scattered between Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And then we have 6 grain elevators. Our ethanol plants handle about 140 million bushels of corn annually, and between all 4 plants, we produce 400 million gallons of ethanol. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's maybe start. The first question I kind of want to talk about is, when did we start investing in technology, and what were the first areas that you really started in? And maybe, Corey, I'll start with you, because with your title and your position, you've likely been through that process. So where did you start, and when did you start investing in technology?
Yeah, so I joined FS Grain as CEO 5 years ago, and in my presentation, and my interview essentially, I told the board then that they were probably going to hear me coming to them with capital dollars to be spent on technology, not necessarily bins. In our industry, we tend to build bigger, build faster, but we forget about the automation and the technology behind it. So we've got to catch up on that. And so we had the dreaded CRM tool through Sugar that we'd been using at FS Grain. So we reinvested in that a little bit, spent some time there to try to create processes and workflows. So we don't really use it as much for the CRM tool. We use it more for workflows throughout the company. And then every year we spend anywhere from 20 to 30% of our capital budget goes to automation or some sort of technology or process.
Maybe just a quick follow-up. Did you get a lot of pushback when you were hired and you said, I need a bunch of money for technology?
So there were a couple board members that just looked at me, kind of rolled their eyes, right? Because labor has always been plentiful, labor has always been cheap, so we don't need automation. We've done it the same way for 75 years, and so I got a couple eyes rolled, but the majority of the board understands what we're trying to accomplish, and they understand that if we utilize technology, we're able to service them better and more efficiently.
Yeah, great. Allie, how about you in your time at Big River? How have you seen technology, and where did you guys start, and any first spots there?
So when I first started, that would have been 2015. We were not paperless at all. And since then, we moved into a paperless filing system. Other than that, let's see. In the last couple years, aside from all of the upgrades and stuff we've done with our ERP and the add-ons for that, we've done an internal dashboard so we can monitor everything leaving our plants, everything coming in. Recently, the rollout was load numbers, so that's a big deal for the scale to see all the open DDG load numbers. So if a customer comes in and gives the wrong load number, we know and we catch it on the front end before we potentially invoice the wrong customer. And then I would say other than that, and then Bushel was a huge implementation for technology.
Sure.
So,
Mike, how about you? I don't know if you're kind of young, so maybe the technology.
Yeah, I've been with Agri-Services for 5 years now. Mainly what we've done is we got a kiosk now on the scales, so we got FRD cards that they just scan and everything saves on there. Really, besides Bushel, just updating our facilities camera-wise, so we can see what's going on.
Sure.
I always have one of my monitors on camera, so I see something weird, I can go get it taken care of right away. That's kind of been a big push on there. But going forward, I mean, just trying to be more efficient with less labor. I mean, it's just everybody's struggling with it, and that's just the way you got to get to now.
Great. Jack, how about Schooler?
Yeah, so before my tenure, but I know there was a big shift when our current CEO, Paul Mace, took over 7 years ago. He actually added it to our strategic objectives 5 years ago. One of the first focuses was getting rid of manual data entry and all the mistakes that come with that, which included digital rail jackets, bots that read PDFs and scan documents to put that data in. And then also the paper tickets you get from trucks. That's where Roger was born within Schooler and spun off into its own company.
So you all have one thing in common, you're customers of Bushel. So tell me about why you chose Bushel and why was it the right time to choose Bushel? And maybe I'll start with you, Allie.
So I think two main reasons for Big River. One, to better service our customer. I mean, we're in the business of customer service. Without them, we couldn't operate. And number two was to stay current and competitive. Our competitor down the road might have something similar they're offering their customers, so we needed to get on board and offer something that everyone else or majority of people in the marketplace for as well.
Corey?
So we went down a path early on of attempting to create our own app, and it was a disaster. So we knew we needed the tool. Same thing that Ali said, right? I mean, our customers are important to us. We've got to provide that tool. And the other thing was, so a lot of and it was said a couple times today, but a lot of the phone calls to our customer service team are, hey, how many bushels do I have left to deliver? And they were transactional questions as opposed to conversations to build and dive into the relationship with the customer and get to know them better. So that was the time when we said we need to go to Bushel, we need to have the app, and it's been great. It's been absolutely great.
What advice do you have for other people that are trying to build their own? Because we often hear that, whether it's a prospect thinking about Bushel or maybe it's a customer. What advice?
Just say no. I commend all of you that program and code and build things and from a technology standpoint, because it is a lot more difficult than what it looks like. I'm always like, oh, well, you just got to push the button and it'll just work. I know it's more difficult than that, and so we went down that path. It was expensive, and it was really a waste of energy and time. And the other problem too was when we implemented that to our customers, in our industry, we are essentially the final frontier, right? As far as technology goes. It seems like we were so late to adopt technology. So you give a farmer a tool and you have one chance to make that work. Or they're like, see, this is why we haven't done it in the last 75 years, and they don't want it, right? So we had to repair a lot of relationships there as well. So it was a bad customer service deal as well.
It's like was it the 80s or the 90s Say No to Drugs campaign? Is that Say No to Drugs campaign?
Yeah, just say no.
Just say no, yeah. All right. Mike, why'd you guys choose Bushel?
Well, it was kind of just put on my desk one day, and I was like, so I took a phone call, and at that time I realized we had a platform that no one used, and listened to what they had to say, and I went to my general manager, and I was like, yeah, we need to do this. So we went from 3 to 150 people. I mean, it was just so user friendly, and that's what you got to have with the farmers, where they can be in the combine running it, and they know as soon as that truck hits the scales that what they had and if they're going to keep going or not. So it's just being the super friendliness of how you can get through the app, and the information's all there that you need.
Yep. Jack, why did Schooler choose Bushel?
Well, also before my tenure, my best guess is they probably had to have some kind of agreement to get Jeremy Johnson to stop calling every day. Other than that, it's probably a lot of the same reasons Corey said. Like, technology is expensive. We were building our own portal, and we're a grain company, right? We need to focus on what we're good at, logistics, trading, and we wanted a partner to do that with. And Bushel versus competitors wasn't doing competition. You were finding partners in the industry to work with to build the right software. You weren't after our customers for other reasons, and there was data integrity. So it was a trusted partnership.
Yeah. And Schooler has just recently expanded some of the offerings through Bushel. Maybe talk a little bit, why did you choose to do more and add more functionality to the Bushel?
Yeah, our latest addition would be trade.
Yeah.
And just continuing to enhance that customer experience with our farmers and give them that extra ability, to sell grain, and extra visibility. Visibility into your contracts and tickets is one thing, but being able to see the offers that you have working, I think the biggest pushback I've ever had when getting growers to submit offers is, I'm going to forget about it. Or it might be the weekend I decide to pull it. Well, trade gives them that ability to check on that information every time they're looking at everything else, and it gives them that ability to pull it.
Great. So talking about technology, and when you bring new technology in, there's a big adoption curve. So we always talk about grower adoption on the Bushel mobile app, but there's a big piece of internal staff adoption that needs to occur at the company as well to make sure that you're successful with your growers. So I'd like each of you to talk about what were some of the challenges you had in rolling out, it could have been Bushel or maybe other technologies within your internal teams at your companies, and how did you overcome those challenges? And Allie, I'll start with you.
So change is hard for some people. So I think the biggest thing, we just had to keep pushing. You have to keep pushing. We're all working towards a common goal to better serve our customer, be better in the business. So that was the biggest thing, offering internal trainings constantly. You still have those people that don't love the idea of it, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we're all working towards the same goal. Let's all get on the same page. So I think that's the biggest thing, the trainings, getting them to push it to our growers. Bushel, talking about Bushel, but any other changes internally. Just have to put a big push, I would say.
And I know this because we talked about it yesterday, but you guys did a little bit of a forced change too, where you said on this date, we're using Bushel and you're not using the other tool, or you're not using your old way. Talk about that. Did you get a lot of kickback, and what was that like for you and your teams?
So the Big River way is just, sink or swim. So it was just, I think it was a day in August, and we said, hey, we're turning on the app tomorrow, we're switching over to trade, and our website is live, here we go. So everyone did really well with it, honestly. There was some hiccups, and the first month was a little rough, to say the least, but we got through it, and I feel like we're setting really good today. So.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Corey, how about you? Talk about change management.
Yeah, so change management is huge, and it's key to get your leadership team or those on board with it. What I always find funny is every time we bring a new software company in or we start looking at a new tool, what we try to do is we listen to the presentation and we say why it won't work and why it doesn't fit into our current processes. So I have to step back and tell the team, the idea of them being here is in order for us to look at better processes, just because we do it one way. So once you start to get them to open up a little bit and not be so guarded, that helps. And then knowing the why. Why are we doing this? And the big thing for us too is creating additional efficiencies. So if it makes the employee's job easier, they're usually on board with that, right? Mm-hmm. So making sure that they understand the why and the benefits that they're going to have, and then also going back if it's an internal program or if it's a customer-facing program like the Bushel app, it's making them understand how it's going to benefit our customer too.
Yep. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, basically what Corey said, but it's just you'll have those people that have been doing the same stuff for 20, 30, 40 years, and they have done it their way. And it sounds simple, but just Excel, like instead of writing it down on paper, is a big upgrade that I've kind of been working with people. Just when they get used to it, they gotta be able to change, and that's kind of where it comes down to like the e-sign. And everybody wants a paper contract. Well, most of those guys lose those contracts in the first week anyway. So let's do it through e-sign, and then you always have it. Mm-hmm. So,
nice.
How many times are you resending that?
0. Well, yeah.
The paper copy. Right?
Yeah, the paper copy. It's like you might get it back before they deliver it. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. And Jack, how about you? How about Schooler and their changes?
Yeah, I think with us, it's really just making sure we have that buy-in at all levels of leadership, and not just SLT decided that this is something we're going to do. We have to make sure that it's at the vice president level, the regional manager level, and they're supporting their teams and pushing and giving the message that these things are important, and then also having like peers and like those early adopters. I'm kind of a fan of Simon Sinek, and he has this, bell curve that he shows of like the 16% adoption tipping point. So it's really finding those early adapters to promote stuff and to be that voice. And, I can go around and I can try to make people at ease when they say, "Oh, is this going to replace my job?" Like, no, it's to make you more efficient, to make you better at your job, to create more value. But it means more when it's from somebody sitting in the same seat as them,
Yep.
and when they're telling them that customers are loving the new tools.
So you bring up staff and you bring up efficiencies that are gained through technology. So we know, and we've heard this from our customers and our prospects, that labor shortages are a real thing, especially in this industry, because oftentimes you're in rural areas, it's hard to employ people. How has bringing new technologies into your operations helped with staffing shortages? And maybe not, like you said, you're not going to get rid of a person's job, but maybe they can go do something else for you. So do you have any stories or answers around how it's helped your staffing? Corey, do you want to start? I see.
So we restructured our organization 3 years ago, and by doing that, we were able to eliminate through retirements and other things our customer service team down by 28%, I believe it is. Now keep in mind, 187% of all statistics are made up on the spot, so I could be a little wrong on that. But it significantly decreased our staff from that perspective. So technology's winning. Over the last few years, as we continue to adopt. But I will say this: you touched on a really good point. I mean, in our industry, we are going to continue to have to adopt new technology, because I just told my board 2 weeks ago that I believe if we don't make changes in 3 to 5 years, we're not going to have enough people to work at our elevators, because we can't find them. The ones we can find don't want to work, and it's not a work ethic thing. But if I would have been managing this company 75 years ago and hired my grandfather to work, who had a hell of a work ethic, I would have handed him a shovel. And we get some of these same guys that come and we're handing them the same tool, right? So we've got to really be investing in adopting new technology, whether it be software or automation at the elevator.
Yeah, and I liked, Corey, how you talked about it was good turnover, right? You had some retirements happen, and so then by technology and efficiencies gained, you don't have to replace those positions because you've got a better working force, and you're not getting rid of employees, but you just don't have to hire that other person that maybe isn't out there for you. Yeah. So, okay. Mike, you got an answer on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it is a hard process trying to get over. You can never hire enough people, it seems. So, I mean, at this point, we're just trying to get more efficient with equipment. I mean, you're always going to try to get bigger and faster and all that, but it still takes good people to do it. So that's kind of where we're going to, is just trying to make everything more efficient, where you get your good guys that you have hired and you keep them. So.
Mm-hmm. Allie, how about you?
Yeah, so these new technologies I feel that we've implemented, they free up time, like you said, and allow our staff to do other things that it might be a project, or, you know, if we have someone on leave, you know, they can help fill in for their role. Your basic workday is 4 hours for their own role and the other 4 built in there to help with backup cross-training duties. I know in the next 3 to 5 years, sustainability, that's a hot topic, and that's going to be our world in ethanol. So these technologies, and as many as we can implement, the better, because my team's focus is going to have to shift, and their energy is going to have to shift into, they're going to have different daily responsibilities on them. Yeah. So.
Yep. Jack, what has Schooler seen from staffing and how technology has helped staff?
Well, you're always making me go last. I mean, I think most of this I'd be fairly repetitive of. I mean, I think about the data entry that I talked about, and getting, you know, less people that need to enter all this data. I mean, that's a big time suck, trying to get people to sit there and read a PDF or read a printed sheet and go put that on a computer. So using the bots really saves that. And I think the biggest thing in the industry that really, it's the labor that's the hardest, right? And it's that facility automation, and going from 4 people that need to run around opening gates and flipping levers to one guy on a computer. And I think when you get that automation too, it also allows you to be able to pay more than, you know, you can't pay those 4 people as much as you can that one person that can run the computer and run all the automation in the facility.
Yep. So I'll start with you on this one, so that maybe what advice do you have for companies out here that are thinking about investing in technology?
It's just making sure you think it all the way through at every level. Like, how is this going to impact the people there, the boots on the ground that are using it? Make sure you have that buy-in prior to investing in it, and make sure you understand like what this is going to change. Like, does this have an unintended consequence somewhere else? And make sure you're addressing those things up front before you just roll it. Just like Corey said with farmers, you don't want our merchandisers, you don't want them to have that bad experience when you roll it out, because then they're not going to push it. They're not going to send it to their farmers. So it's just making sure you have all those pain points recognized up front, so that people get into it immediately and go, I love this product and I want to promote this product.
Yep. Mike, how about you?
Yeah. I mean, like he said, I mean, I kind of like what Allie's did and just said, hey, Tuesday, we're switching. I mean, just to do a hard reset and be like, you're going to buy into this. And I mean, you just got to make sure you know what you're getting into beforehand and that it's a good product. But once you do, you need to go full board at it.
Yep. Corey, you already said don't build it yourself.
Yeah, don't build it yourself. Have a champion. Make sure that you have somebody that's the lead on that, whatever that technology you're implementing. But I would also say, make sure that all the technology ties together in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes you get, you might have 7 different tools or platforms that you're using. They don't talk to each other, and then it just becomes more cumbersome for the employees. So now there are more clicks, more things they got to open, and so it becomes frustrating. So, but otherwise, yeah, vet out the process and make sure that you, if you're going to spend the money on it, make sure that you know what you're going to get, what your return's going to be.
Yep. How about you, Allie?
Yeah, I don't even know if I have a lot to add to all of that. But definitely, I agree with Corey, having that point person that's going to invest their time and energy into it to be, the true believer of it, so they can spread that to everyone else in your organization. And understanding the whys, and conveying that to your team, the investment, basically everything that you guys had to say about it, so. Yeah.
So this question's maybe more forward thinking. We saw a lot about what we're doing, what we're thinking about doing in the future, but what are you all most excited about as it relates to technology and the future? Like if you could do anything, what would you like to see, or what's something that you know is coming down the pipe that you're really excited about? Allie, I'll start with you.
So a big thing, as I said a couple minutes ago, sustainability and what does the carbon program, what does all that look like for us? There's a lot to happen as far as profitability for not only us, but our producers. And I mean, I think profit's exciting. So, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that we're looking forward to. So,
Jack?
I'd say AI. I mean, I don't think we understand what that's going to do over the next 5 years. I'm fearful in ways, but also excited about the efficiencies that it can bring. And I mean, I think you pulled up, Bushel Farm earlier, like to think about if a farmer has all of their data in there, their production, everything, could AI really help them with their marketing and understanding? I mean, we always, tell farmers, market off your break even and everything, but that always changes, right? Like as that crop is growing, and AI could really inform those decisions. And then at the elevator level, it's logistics and what are we going to handle and all that. And I think AI could really help in simplifying that and getting us to be a lot more efficient.
Mike?
Well, I mean, what Jack said, but I'm really looking forward on the wallet side, as I'm going to start pushing it more towards our paying truckers, paying or getting paid by our retail customers on the fertilizer side. I just see that as being a very big opportunity for that, when you're getting checks in that are bigger than grain checks. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, going through that route instead of waiting on checks. So,
Corey, how about you?
Yeah, AI for sure. I mean, we're not sure how that's going to work yet, but there's so much opportunity and potential in that if utilized the right way. The other thing for me is, I keep sharing with my team and others, is I want to be able to operate an elevator with a remote control, essentially, or your iPhone. I mean, I think we can get there. If we can put a man on the moon or a woman on the moon, we can certainly do that, right? So those are some things we're looking at.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to save a little bit of time for any questions from the audience. So does anybody have anything that's just burning that you need to ask one of these four people?
It's really close to beer 30.
Someone's got to ask one question. Nope. There we go.
So everything today is all about grain, agriculture. You guys like agriculture, livestock as well. I mean, is there anything that Bushel's looking at, or I mean, you talk about, Corey talked about how they got to make sure your software's interlinked. In our operation, we're livestock, catalog. How do you get all these different?
Sure.
That's a problem. But, anybody looking at the big picture, or is every industry going to be safe? And maybe that's fine.
Corey?
I mean, I think it's a great question. I mean, that single portal, so kind of what you're doing with what you showed today, with the farm logs and some of that stuff, I think being able, you're starting that, right? We're starting to get things centralized. I know I've seen companies just get a basic portal and put things into their own portal, to try to get everything to communicate. Again, you got to find the right person to do that to help. It can be at an expensive cost and some of that stuff. So it's finding the right partner. But I mean, I think we'll get there eventually. But right now, it's a lot of proprietary products that are out there, right? Everybody wants, I mean, that's just how it is. And so, but it's tough. It's not really out there yet, but it's coming, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anybody else have an opinion on? Maybe said better, have you seen any other related industries that you work with or that you interface with where you've seen some good connections happening outside of Bushel or outside of what we're talking about today?
Well, from the trucking side of things, I use bulk loads for lining up freight. That has been money well spent. Just they're doing something. It's almost like Facebook for truckers. Just post where it's going, and you put your contact info out there. So that's a new thing that I'm kind of going into that has really paid for itself this year with moving a bunch of corn to ethanol plants and not having mine available during the spring. So there's new things coming out all the time, and I think that is probably going to be coming around the corner for the livestock side. It's just a matter of when.
Anyone else want to add anything? Nope. Any other questions from the audience? Go ahead. Do you ever think about implementing blockchain technology? I'm a customer guy, so I have no idea even what that is, but
I know.
I'll let these guys answer that.
You're way over my head on that one. I think blockchain was a big conversation few years ago, but has AI kind of replaced that whole blockchain process?
I feel like it. I know I've heard people at Schooler say that we've looked at blockchain and just couldn't find a practical application.
Sure.
Obviously, AI has tons of practical applications, so I think the conversation shifted.
The answer is no.
No, we're not.
How useful would the data that Bushel pulls into our system, how useful would it be for if that data flowed into the other tools that you're using in the field?
So like if you pulled that out of our ERP system or...
So we're pulling a lot of data and then making that data flow into the other that you use the data, maybe you have to double it.
Yes, that would be wonderful. I think you're getting there with fulfillment, right? Mm-hmm. Let's kind of start, you're working that direction. And yeah, it's a...
Yeah. I was going to say with fulfillment, don't you guys have a data file that you can potentially import into your system with all your direct ships and all your shipments that you sent to another processor, so there's less matching? Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like my biggest time constraint is changing scale tickets. The fulfillment side is kind of I'm excited about. That's one thing. Like right now, we're moving corn a couple 100,000 a week, and it's like that's a lot of tickets to change. Mm-hmm. So just getting to that where we can use that data to kind of just cut out the busy paperwork.
Great. Okay, well, we will wrap this one up, but before we go, I do need to ask the final question. Who would you choose to ride alongside in your buddy seat? Allie, I'll start with you.
So this is a bit of a different twist, but if I could pick anything or anyone, someone from the future, like 10
Sure.
years down the road. They have all this experience under their belt, what's the ag tech space look like, what's fintech look like. I think that would be really cool.
Do you know who that is? Not yet.
No. Maybe it would be someone, maybe it's me in 10 years, what have I seen or what's happened in the last 10 years in the sustainability space or the ethanol industry or the grain industry.
So you want future Allie next to you?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I love that answer. That's awesome. It'd be so easy to do things if you knew how things were going to go. Yeah. Corey, how about you?
Doesn't that mess up the time continuum?
I think it does.
Maybe. Mine would be my grandfather. He farmed in McLean County, Central Illinois, and he passed away before I got into the ag business. So I would love for him to be able to ride along with me and see what I do.
That's great.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Tazewell County, right by him. But I would probably pick my dad. He retired from farming 6-7 years ago, and I would like to be able to go back in time and be back in there where I'm in the buddy seat almost. But that's just a missed memory that would be great to have again.
Great. Jack?
Well, my initial reaction when you asked this was I thought my fiance, because she's lived in Kansas City her whole life, never been in a tractor, I need to take her to the family. She's just recently switched over to the ag side working for Bayer, and she's never been in a tractor, so I need to take her to the family farm and get her in one. But then I thought about that, and like the best thing about being in a tractor and like windrows is just like the quiet and the peaceful thinking. So it's probably only like a couple passes, and then I'll stop and switch out for my dog.
That works.
She's not watching, right? She's not watching.
This is live streamed. Hopefully she's not watching. Okay, well, I would like everyone to give this group a round of applause. Thank you for coming.